Hello, 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 everybody. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone from the Star. Lovely to have you here. My name is Gqomo, and I will be your host for today's live chat for the Star. As I said, my name is Gqomo, and I'm greeting you here from Cape Town, the 021. Let me know where you're from and where you're joining us from, and I would just like to, send a shout out to you. I'd also like this chat to be quite engaging, so if you have any questions, please do jot them down on the comment section below, and then maybe we can discuss them, and I can see if I can advise on anything. But yeah, so let's have this live chat. So my task today is to talk to you about a survival kit for SMMEs. And so basically that's what I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey and where I'm from and what I'm learning on my journey. So I don't promise to have all the answers, but I really hope that my story and my advice will help you some way or the other. So hi Luvo, hi Jessica from Joburg. Thank you for joining me today. So as I said, my name is Gqomo, and I'm the owner of Untitled Global Network, and I also run an NPC, a non-profit company called the Wumandla Foundation. So I'm originally from Port Elizabeth, and that's a city in the Eastern Cape. But then I moved to Cape Town, and that's where I run my business. So what did I study? I studied public relations and communications. And straight after studying, I moved here to Cape Town. And I've worked in various industries. And I did this on purpose. I did this on purpose because I thought I would use my 20s to learn as much as I can. With PR and communications, it's such a diverse kind of an industry. So you could really find yourself in media or working with media, which is a definite. Or you can find yourself as a copywriter. You could find yourself part of government and doing all the communications. Like, I cannot imagine the communications department right now during this pandemic and everything that's going on. You can be a ghostwriter. And there's so many things. So I told myself that I want to work in as many industries as possible in my 20s and then start my business at 30. And that actually happened before what I had dreamt or had anticipated. So I worked in education at a formal university. I then moved to online education when I moved to Cape Town. And then I went into the FMCG industry, and I worked with fried chicken. Can you see that how vast these industries are? And then I joined IT and technology, and sort of the digital space. And then I ended up in retail. And this worked for me. I mean, this is not my advice to everyone, but I really knew that after 18 to 24 months, I would have learned the skills that I wanted and a lot about the industry that I was currently in. So that's what I did. And I was just like, I'm a fast learner and I get bored easily. So it's quite important to understand what kind of a person you are. And so I did that. Joined various industries, and lo and behold, when I started my company, I was blessed enough to have my last employer hire me as their consultant. So it meant I continued, but on a more consultancy basis, and I could charge per brand versus getting one salary, and that was quite exciting for me. And then my client base also grew. So what is great about that is that my past experience really came full circle for me in opening my consultancy, because all those industries that I had worked at are now the kinds of clients that I have. So that is really just my background in PR and communications, stakeholder relations, and also building interesting campaigns and building brands. And that's something I absolutely love. As I said, I do get bored easily. So working with a variety of clients and different projects really keeps me going and on my toes. And I love that's the kind of stress that I like. So my marketing and my marketing and communications consultancy includes PR services and communications, social and digital marketing management, training of those. So if you have a company running and you cannot necessarily hire someone full-time or on a retainer, which is how I would work, then it's really about training you and giving you some skills on how to run your own social media and digital media. Although there are experts, there are different ways of you doing it yourself. The consultancy also offers copywriting and blogging, so that's business blogging or social blogging. And the importance of that is to really make you visible on the net, so that when people search you, they will find you because you have a footprint. So it's quite important to have a blog about everything that is related to the company or your industry, and just to brand yourself as an industry leader or a company or a person who knows about their industry or leader. So it's that and brand development, which is my absolute fave. Hello Tutorial, hello Somila. Hello, Cornell. Once again, I saw you yesterday. Thanks, Jess. Jess says that she's also in PR and comms, and she's adopting the same approach in terms of career movement. And she would venture into government. Well, good luck to you. I think there's space in government, especially local government, in communications. And the best thing about being in South Africa is that we've got 11 official languages. So communications can go 11 different ways. And so there's opportunity for people, opportunity for indigenous languages, and to speak to the right audience. That's always something that is very, very important in my field. So I was talking about brand development, and so also what I do is helping companies. So I'd also like to talk to emerging business people like Jess. So I haven't been in the SMME space for too long, but I had been touching base here and there. So I would write for other companies as I do my job. I would run an event for a salon, a launch or opening for the salon, make sure that the newspapers know about it, make sure that the local community knows about it. So I had been, dabbling in some freelance work before going full time. And so that's my advice to emerging business people, that you should actually take that approach, especially during this time. If you do have a full-time job, it's quite wise to stay in it whilst you give time and invest some extra time into building your business, because that will help in your financial stability. It helps in your networking, which is very key. I'll talk and touch about people a bit later, and relationships, keeping relationships key. So it will also help you to relieve your stress, because there are responsibilities and things that you have to take care of. So fulfilling your passion and doing your job can be done at the same time. It will take a little bit more sacrifice, but it definitely will be worth it in the end. And it's all up to you. So back to brand development and what I do. So brand development is not just limited to say a fashion brand like the ones that I'm working with currently, or talent. So I also like building someone's personal brand. It extends to even when you start your business, because that is your brand. That's how you speak, and that you need longevity. So you cannot choose any kind of name. And that's where I also fall in brand development, is that you don't choose just any name and go register it for a business. It needs to make sense. It needs to make sense to your industry, and it needs to have some sort of longevity, because if you are calling your business right now the Corona Relief Company, the pandemic is going to end. And what are you going to do after that? Because just because you were trying to add some technological relief or whatever the case may be during the season, it doesn't mean it will be relevant in a year or two later. So when you approach a consultant, they look and research into what should you call your name, then adding some other like creative communications along with it. How should your logo look? What should it speak to? Is it clear? Is it precise? Is it easily recognizable? Would people know you in 10 years? Like, there are certain things that even the ideation of your business needs brand development services and work. And so that's me, and that is my my business. And my structure is that I do work alone, but where the needs be, I introduce freelancers, and that kind of approach has helped me in maintaining, the finance of the company, and it also gives, other freelancers an opportunity to work on something, and it means that I don't have to pay a large amount of money towards human resources, which could be a very, very huge cost. And I mean, I don't speak without sensitivity to what is happening right now. And I know that so many people are, even before the pandemic, have been retrenched or are currently losing their jobs. But you still have that skill, you still have the knowledge. Maybe right now is a good time to register on freelance companies' websites to offer the services that you do. And even if it's on a contractual basis or a short-term basis, at least there would be money coming in during this time before the economy, starts improving. And so that's my advice to those who are currently going through that. So, I also want to touch on the Womandla Foundation, which is a non-profit that I founded, and I work with incredible women. We have an amazing team of Gqomo, as well as a committee, and all volunteering, to improve the lives of women in communities. We have a nationwide reach, and so what we are doing, we have 4 pillars. We have STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics. We have mentorship and mentorship. Then we have entrepreneurship and development. Then we have events. So I'm managing those two, the business and the non-profit company. And that's what I do for my living. So I'm just going to quickly take a question from Twarelo Mokwena. Where are your clients based? Are you able to provide your services to companies and brands outside of your immediate geographical location? Yes. So my clients are based here in Cape Town, and one in the Eastern Cape, but everything that I do is I've been working from home even before the pandemic, so I can manage to do all of the work, execute everything. And the only thing that has changed is that I don't have, as many client-facing sort of meetings because of lockdown. And so we use Zoom instead. So that has been a great help. So I'd like to now move on to SMMEs and, the survival kit, what the star has asked me to speak about. And I just wanted to define what these are to those people who might not know. So in South Africa, the term SMME stands for small, medium, and micro enterprises. And also in Africa, MSME is used. So that's micro, small, and medium enterprises. So as much as I'll be talking to that audience, I'm also wanting to address the existing business owners and the emerging business owners, because that would be my place of reference and relevance. Right. So just about South Africa's facts in this area. South Africa's estimated 5.78 million MSMEs, so that's micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, and only 14% are formalized, and most micro and very small businesses exist to create self-employment. So that's quite important to note, and that is such a large number. So I form part of the micro enterprise. And so what does a survival kit look like for people like myself and others? And I'd like for those who are in that SMME space to please also contribute what you think or what has helped you during this pandemic. And with a survival kit, I think it's important to have, and not just only because of the pandemic, but it's important for any other crisis that might arise and any other rainy day that could happen in your business. The pandemic right now we don't know where the end is. And it also came to us as a surprise. But think about how other issues and other crises can happen in your business. And that's why it's so important to have a survival kit anyway. So if the pandemic has forced you to have one, this is key for you. So like camping, if you were to go camping, I'm not much of a camper myself, but I know that you would need a survival kit. You need some first aid stuff. You need some flint or matches to light a fire. You need a compass, to know your direction or whatever, an okapi or a knife for whatever reason. And that is a preventative measure. And I'd like to say that the survival kit for a business takes on the same approach. It's to mitigate and prevent the worst from happening, or when that does happen, at least you have covered some bases. And this really speaks to strategic planning right from the beginning. You need to plan and map out, your vision for your company, the mission for your company, and remember why you actually started. And with that also being said, we know that customer preferences are going to change and the market trends are also going to change. So it's quite important that you recognize this and you can have some sort of adaptability to these changes, right? But not losing focus of what the company's dream was about. So strategic planning is so important, and this you can actually have a planning session with your team if you have a team, or get a coach or a mentor or someone in business who can help you in strategic planning, because most people in business have had their ebbs and flows, and they would be able to advise about what to add into your strategic planning document or your process. I think another point in your in the survival kit is knowing when to pivot as well as a business, because as I said, markets change, preferences of customers change, so you also need to be quite adaptable as to what they are needing. And I think the use of surveys, polls, and just some sort of customer evaluation is quite necessary to see how your business can plan on the changes that are needed. I know many companies that weren't using the work from home approach had to quickly spend so much money in making sure that every one of their employees are kitted and sorted out at home. Whereas if you had gradually been seeing or introducing this like 1 day a week working at home, those needs could have been, budgeted for and planned for way in advance before even this pandemic. So it's those kinds of things of also just continuous research, making sure that you are still relevant in your industry, and also applying whatever is new and innovative to your business. As mentioned before, I also said that having mentors or coaches is quite important in giving you wise counsel, because you're not going to know everything. You are not going to know everything for your business. And also, I think hiring people who add to your skills and to your knowledge base is going to help you, because firstly you'll have people to trust and people who will be experts in really rolling out plans and making the business a success, or rather the business progressive. I think another thing to add in your survival kit, and I'm speaking about personal things right now first, is also to cut back on personal expenses. I know for many of companies like mine, sometimes there is a bit of a blur in whether you use the company money for personal things, and this is actually something that happens. And I would advise people to take a salary from whatever kind of business you're bringing in. Give yourself a salary, on a reasonable salary, and have business money separate. Business account separate and your own personal account separate, because you need to also see the progress of your company, the financials of your company. You need to be able to decipher what is it that you personally need, but not take it from the company. Because in a time such as this, yesterday's luxuries need to give way to today's necessities. So whatever you were doing, I mean, we could have coffee dates and coffee meetings and endless coffee dates, mind you, when trying to get business, and use the business money for that. But when you calculated that, wow, this accumulates to such a great cost. So those are the kind of things that you should be very careful of. And of course, having an accountant will also help you, because an accountant will keep you accountable. Yeah, so of course, please still continue to ask questions and advise if you also have a comment about what I'm saying. I think to have a survival kit is the responsibility of every entrepreneur, because you should try to get ahead of the curve. And I mean, one of the qualities that an entrepreneur should have is resilience, a very thick skin, and positivity. You should really practice positivity and saying that you can't throw in the towel right now during this pandemic. No matter how things look, you have to push through, because that's the only thing you can do. You have to push through and remember why you started. And I think another thing that will help during this time, in survival mode, is to also look back from where you started and see your progress already, and how far you have come, that you just cannot give up right now. And I understand that there are various issues like cash flow and all sorts of things that are being heavily affected right now, but there are ways and there are means, and I will touch on those just a little bit later. So back to the survival kit, I feel that you should also have a communications plan, and this is also where I come in. So some companies might not have a communications practitioner in place, but during this time would have employed one on a retainer basis. And that's usually to keep the internal staff up to date with everything that is happening in the company. This role can also be taken on by the MD, depending on the size of the company. And keeping your internal staff informed keeps them some way or other relieved, because they know what's happening, they know where we're going, and it really just exercises great leadership when you know that, or you concentrate on how much your staff matters more than customers. I know that you think that customers, may bring a lot of the money, but how you treat your internal staff, how you communicate them, how you get buy-in from your internal staff is also one of the ways to keep the hope and the positivity going, because they will feel relaxed, at ease, and happy to help. So they want to save the company just as much as you would or you do. So a communications plan is very important, and you can adopt many platforms to communicate to your stakeholders. And also stakeholders may include your suppliers, and those are your external stakeholders, or anyone that you work with. If things are tight right now, having a communications plan and having a good relationship is also key here. And those two work hand in hand, is because when you keep communicating, you're building a relationship, you're building trust, and there is a level of transparency. You shouldn't cover anything. You shouldn't lie about anything. You should be honest to those people that you deal with on a daily basis, be it internal or external. Because they matter, and those people are the ones who really keep the company going. So as I said, the platforms that may be used, they could be the internal communique, if you have that, depending on the size of your business. Normal email, a mailer works perfectly well. Using MailChimp. MailChimp is a mailer, and that you can just basically input your database, and that could be your clients or whoever. You can really just sort it out according to the audience you're speaking to, and release a mail at one go to each and everyone. There is, of course, social media. I think Twitter is a buzz right now, with everything happening with the pandemic. So many conversations happening at the same time. Questions. The government, they have been even they've been SMSing us every day. I don't know, do you guys get SMSs every day around 7 from the government about this COVID and everything? So not forgetting those. There's also radio, there's traditional media, there is TV. There's so much and so many ways to communicate and reach your people. Keeping them informed keeps them part of the family. Cornell says, always think in solution mode. Positivity promotes that. Confidence is key when working with clients. I absolutely agree with that. Confidence should be on the survival kit as well. You need to be confident in yourself. You need to be confident in your product or your service. You need to be confident in your team. So micromanaging is not necessarily helpful in situations, because you need to showcase confidence in every single way. I absolutely agree with that. And keeping positive will keep your mind open. And I think maybe neuroscientists and other people would have better knowledge about that, but I know that positivity definitely clears your mind in thinking, being able to think on your toes and coming up with solutions. Paul Hopane says, some SMMEs won't be able to get back to business post-COVID-19. That's true. That is true. What do you think could have been the cause, or maybe what is it that they didn't do right to survive this? I hope to answer your question right now. I'm actually going to speak about that. And but as I said or mentioned earlier, definite strategic planning. I think most SMMEs go with the flow. So as long as money is coming in, as long as rent is being paid, the overheads are being paid, then we're moving. But there is a lack of strategic planning as to the hows. You need to say, in 6 months we need to be here, and how. So you need to jot down in your company what you need to do as the company owner, what staff needs to do. Your accountant or financial advisor needs to tell you where you need to cut costs, to give you more money, to have a savings pocket, or an emergency fund, even for your business. There needs to be some sort of how long can you last? Let's say a pandemic happens. Now that we are learning, will your business run for 3 months before it has to close down? Can it run for 6 months? And those are the things you have to consider and think in how we are operating right now. What do we need to plan for? What do we need to mitigate? What do we need to apply so that we can actually survive for 3 months? Have a timeline for 6 months, for a year, whatever the case may be. But I know the reason why most companies are not surviving is definitely cash flow and also access to funding. And what I wanted to say was that keep your financials in check. Have an accountant who's always, or an accounting team or a financial advisor who will give you the right advice, because that is the main reason many companies are not surviving. It's definitely funding. And there are funding relief places, F&B, I know, the Rupert's, CEDA, NYDA, all the agencies that normally help SMMEs have actually released some funding help or relief, and those agencies also have coaches and mentors. So I think it's unfortunate that some businesses are definitely not going to make it, but also my advice is that pivot, as I said, see what people need right now. I might be a communications company, but at this moment I could be outsourcing or outsourcing PPE equipment, masks, and all sorts of things. Which company is not releasing masks right now? And they're using that as a branding initiative. You'll see that there are so many logos and that sort of thing on the company masks. So they are either selling those masks and using it as a marketing tool, and they are then outsourcing or they have become suppliers, even if it wasn't the nature of their business. So I think it's quite important to be able to think on your toes when you have a business, and pivot and do what is necessary to help your business survive. What else did I want to mention? I also believe that, during a pandemic or any kind of crisis that you may face, it is an opportunity for innovation. It's an opportunity to create, and it's an opportunity for you to birth something new. I think when you realize what has been missing all along, sometimes a pandemic, sometimes a crisis highlights that for you, and that's the opportunity for your business, an opportunity to register a brand new business right now, to meet a need of the people of your people, to meet another need of your business, or meet needs of other agencies and other businesses. I think that is also quite key to remember that during this time, as much as some companies are closing, brand new companies are opening because they have found a need. I read on Twitter somewhere, it was kind of a joke, but they were saying Skype has been here, Skype has had a 17-year lead, but I don't know what's happening. Why has Zoom and Hangouts and other kind of platforms, surpassed them? And that could be a lack of maybe strategic planning, a lack of marketing. We don't know, but other companies have used the very same model that Skype has and have done better. Nokia and BlackBerry, those are also companies that have been long in existence, thinking that they would always, be here. And yet other companies have sprouted, and other telecommunications companies have created new things. And that's because of innovation, and that's because of creativity and meeting the needs of what your Nokias and BlackBerries current maybe weren't at that current stage. So I just need a sip of water, guys. So Nkateko is saying most companies are robbing employees of their UIF disaster funds. Sure. So, I cannot comment on that whatsoever. And I really hope that, I think as an employee, it's important to also know your rights and know who to speak to. And at UIF, where can you address certain instances? Also speak to the HR department or the personnel who's handling all of those things, and hopefully get a paper trail of conversations, of trying to, to see what is happening, what are the solutions, and then maybe take it up. That's all I can say for now, and that's actually such a disgrace to rob people of their own money, because UIF comes from the money that you earn, and work for. So nonetheless, I think to add on to the SMME survival kit is also agility, as I've mentioned before, and examples of having the PPE equipment, offering that now, or whatever the case may be. Just adopt or try to adopt unconventional ways of doing business, because it is not business as usual anymore. We are all adapting to a new normal for each and every one of us. So I think that's another that's something else to add to your kit. And another point is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And that could be in terms of your relief funding, or asking to collaborate with other brands. I think right now, having your brands be relevant, having your brands, speak to what's going on, just gives it such a human element and touch. And those are also one of the PR tools and tactics, and it's to make the company have, to personify the company, to give it a human touch and face, so that people, your audience and your customers, feel like they're engaging with someone. So don't be afraid to ask for help, even on your platforms, in certain instances, because some people are definitely skilled in other areas of PR and marketing and communications than I am. So that would help me, or I could just outsource and we could work out something. Izandla ziyagezana, guys. We all need each other. As I also said, asking for help also in terms of relief funding. And I think with that you need to, and this will answer also the question about the companies that cannot afford to pay salaries. The relief funding that has been afforded to people that you could apply to has helped in those instances. Yes, you might have to pay the money back, some of it back, but also a payment plan has been introduced for that. So I think most of the banks or other financial aids have put that in consideration. So that answers the question, your question, Paul, about paying salaries. And I also said earlier on about entrepreneurs having to cut personally from their own paychecks or whatever the case may be, and cutting down on luxuries, because sometimes it may mean, as you've seen or heard, that many directors and CEOs have taken a salary cut in order to stretch money to be able to pay for salaries, and so on and so forth. So the economy is we're in such a tricky space right now, and I think we can only do what we can. We can only do what we can, and that is the advice that I have for you. And also for you to qualify for this kind of funding, I think it's quite important that your financials are in place, because those are the kind of things that they're going to ask. They have to do some sort of due diligence on you, on how long your company's been running, how well it's been run, and what does your financial situation look like, and how many people you are responsible for. And if you have that and a portfolio of your work, and perhaps, I know in the arts industry, because I work with a lot of media and celebrity people in some of the brands that I service, the work that they had been contracted for has now been stopped. So they had, like, actors and your celebrities had signed for something, but production had to stop, and that means that there is a loss of income for them. So I think having your books in place, having your financials in place, and also production companies in that regard would have to adopt the same thing and try and see if they cannot pay people upfront, even before, shooting or whatever the case may be. It's quite tricky. It's really also dependent on industries. With that being said, and my advice and what I think will work is there's no single recipe for success. We all are in this together, and that's comforting. That the pandemic is happening to each and every one of us, and so many things are being impacted, but this is what we have, and this is what we have to do, and we have to keep positive throughout this. And as a PR professional, I cannot emphasize enough for your business the value of relationships, the importance of marketing. I know most companies cut budgets first at marketing and communications, consistent communications, but mind you, because that keeps your brands top of mind. That keeps you relevant. That keeps people, they keep having an appetite for you. And also, what's also important is implementing relevant campaigns then. Campaigns to save your business. I know so many people have also resorted to crowdfunding. Those who couldn't pay for salaries and whatever the case may be, or to keep their businesses afloat. Those kind of campaigns can assist. You ask for crowdfunding, and basically showcase what your business has been doing and what it has been about. So employing a good PR and communications person will also help you assist that, and therefore either generate sales or increase your brand awareness, or help in keeping some of the cash flow, or your brand and your name out there. So I think that's it for me. I'm happy to offer some of my services to consult, to help you run campaigns. I'm happy to help you build your brand, and I just am so thankful that I have been privileged, and I realize it's a huge, tremendous blessing from God to have work in this time, and to have also, grown in this time. It's been very, very difficult for so many people, but I do believe that the sun will shine again, and sooner rather than later. And also in my industry, crisis communications is one of our fortes. So when crises happen, that's where we are key in all the strategies, all the business strategies, and talking to the relevant people. And so I'm constantly on the job, and I'm happy to help you guys too. Just one more comment from Twarela. I think it is also important for businesses to stay informed about societal issues and issues in other sectors, because some factors can have ripple effects. Like the COVID-19 pandemic, a health issue, which has now affected social activities and basically every role player in the economic sector. I think that is a brilliant point. To basically stay in the loop of what is happening, just in the economy, in other sectors, and also in your own. I think what you have just said, Twarelo, is just so important. And for myself, because also I work across various industries, so to know what is happening is very, very important. And I know with me, with PR and brand activities, there are events that have been cancelled. There are activations that have been cancelled. So many kinds of my communications means and platforms that have been cancelled. And this is where I've had to be agile too. And this is where I've had to advise and still also be creative, even more creative. I've been stretched during this time. And so I absolutely agree with you. And my only hope and prayer is that everyone, knows that we are going to make it through this. And that in your survival kit, as much as it was a personal one to business owners and entrepreneurs, to emerging businesses, to consultants, and even to employees, really, because even you offering your service for your salary, that is some sort of an entrepreneurial exercise. We are all in this together, and we should really work together in every way possible, because this has been a defining moment for many of us, and also a challenging one, but I believe that we will definitely get through it. So that's it for me, everyone. Thank you to the staff for this opportunity to chat about my life, my experiences, the importance of PR, communications and marketing. And I really hope that we can connect and chat. You can find me on LinkedIn as Sam Gqomo, on Instagram as well as Sam Gqomo, and of course www.womandlaglobal.com. And with that being said, I wish you all the best in your business, and personally, I hope you take care of yourself. I hope you use this time as a time of reflection and a time of rest and a time of recovery. We are going to recover from this, and hopefully that you can take care of yourself, because you cannot pour out of an empty cup as a business owner and an entrepreneur. With the fact that there are so many families, maybe, or employees that you are responsible for, it's still so much more responsible to take care of yourself. So thank you so much. Much love and many blessings to you.